Hey, welcome back to Mystery Garage. Happy 2021 to everybody out there. Happy New Year, happy holidays. I hope everybody had a very fantastic holiday season. In this week's episode, I think we're going to discuss all things 2021, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back everybody. Like I said in the intro of this video, Happy New Year, Happy 2021. Hope you all had a happy holiday season. I thought it's the very YouTube thing to do right now is to do a recap episode of 2020 and all the YouTubers' experiences of 2020. I thought I would kind of do a very brief version of that, but instead focus on what's ahead of us in 2021. I did start this channel after buying this car, finding it on top of a sea can, and bringing it home and realizing I wanted to make something of it. And I decided, hey, I was going to document this on YouTube where I've done my previous builds on Instagram. So I thought, let's get into it. And I really just grabbed my phone, what I'm recording with now, and actually a tripod my wife had, and I just started filming. And I never really looked back. And the one thing I can say in summary is I don't have any experience. I'm not a licensed mechanic by any means. I'm just a genuine enthusiast who's been around the Volkswagen car community for a while, and I've played with my fair share of Volkswagens over the years, and I built this channel, and I've said it many times, is not to be a how-to. I mean, if you guys see something you like that I'm doing, or you're learning from my channel, that's awesome. But my main goal with it was just to be an entertainment, a point of entertainment. Grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab a drink, and sit in front of the TV or your phone or your computer and watch somebody playing with Volkswagens. And my hope really was from that was to get you enthusiastic to get out and work on your own project builds. Whether that's a Volkswagen or not is really irrelevant, but for me it was, hey, I can hopefully show you guys some things or have you watch some things and get motivated to work on your own projects. And for me, the one thing that's been super critical about this whole channel is it's kept me consistent. It's kept me focused. It's made me continually work on these cars and stay consistent. Every week I'm turning out a new episode, and again, this isn't my full-time gig by any means. I'm going to always leave that door open if it ever goes that far. This would be an awesome way to have a career, but I do have a full-time, often more than full-time hour job. So I am doing this on my weekends. I'm doing it on my late nights. I'm doing it wherever I can fit it in a week to generate a episode. The other thing too is you always got to look ahead, plan to make that content enjoyable. I don't want to give you guys an episode that doesn't have an outcome, meaning you're going to start with a project goal for that particular episode and hopefully hit that goal by the end of the episode. So coming up with that kind of content week in, week out, and coming up with goals that I can achieve within a single episode has been challenging, without question. Making sure that I have the parts and the pieces I need, making sure I have the supplies readily available to be able to come home after a 10-12 hour day worth of work and throw together a couple hours on film at some point throughout the week to build an episode from it. This has been a great experience. I've ended up talking to hundreds of people, both on Instagram and through YouTube, and through connecting with me through email and all that sort of stuff, talking about cars and their particular interests and their builds and things they might ask of me, questions, or if I have any parts I can supply to them, that sort of thing. It's all been an awesome experience. It's been really just as simple as me grabbing my phone and just starting recording and seeing what happened of it. And originally I started out this channel as just being solely built on this particular project. Hopping into the channel, once I started getting going and I had a couple cars come up that I was interested in purchasing, meaning I bought that Mk1 pickup for my son and I to kind of start working on together as a project moving forward, because he's been watching me do this YouTube stuff, and he's like, Dad, I want to help you. I want to be a part of building a car with you and learning and that sort of stuff. And that's got me excited. That's got me wanting to really bring him into the fold. And it's not about the YouTube channel by any means. It's about him and I bonding over turning wrenches on a car. For me, that's super exciting. Seeing him starting to get excited about it was an opportunity for me to really grab onto that and connect over a car. And I think, he's only 8 now. By the time he hits 16, 17 years old and he starts driving a car, I want the history and the connection of us building that car together the very first day that he hits the road with his driver's license to really mean so much more than just the driver's license. It means, driving that car that him and his dad built and having so much more meaning behind it. So that was a cool thing too. So now I've started the project or the channel built on this car, the pickup, and then I worked in my Instagram build of my VR6 Mk1. And obviously a lot of the interest to this channel has been derived from that particular build. People really like to see the Mk1 VR6s, and I'd love to show it to you, and I plan on in 2021 bringing that car into the channel a lot more. I don't want to stall this project either. I want to keep it moving ahead, and in doing so, I'm not exactly certain on how I'm going to work those cars in, but I do know what I need to do. I do want to do a refresh on the motor in that Mk1. I do want to finish up the car, so I want to detail out the bay, have that finished up, hopefully throw some paint at the car, kind of finish out some things I didn't get around to. I also want to fully bring that car into character. Currently it's more of a, let's say, sleeper because it's got steelies on it. Obviously I built some wheels in the corner of the shop that are destined for some of my cars, so I really want to, in 2021, and I say early 2021, January, February, March, April, somewhere in that range, really bringing that car back and getting to work on that. I do hope to, in the early part of 2021 as well, get really far ahead on this car. Hopefully get this car on the road at some point in that early part of 2021. So that being said, there's a lot to do on this car, and now that we're kind of got, like I said, we've got the basis of this car ready to go. I got the engine behind me. I'm not actually making an episode today because I'm still waiting on a couple more parts to come through, and we'll do a full engine build in one episode. I want to start to achieve more in an episode, but once we start throwing this car together, everything is going to come together real quick. I have pretty much all the parts to throw this car together. So when it comes to having the chassis ready to start accepting stuff, we're just going to start throwing parts at it, and before you know it, we're going to have a car built. So that's all going to come together pretty quickly. Sorry, I have the hiccups. But as it comes to the rest of the channel and about the automotive journey, so to speak, when you guys click on my channel, I've really started to work on how the channel is laid out, and I've done it for about a month and a half now. When you click on the main page of my channel, you're going to have 4 choices. You're going to be able to follow the Mk1 VR6 build, you're going to be able to follow this dream car project, as well as follow the pickup. And then I've created another box that's kind of automotive channel related stuff, so it doesn't go into travel and that kind of thing, but it's more about my journey and the episodes that don't really fit in either of the projects. Meaning, if I'm doing a project around my place that has something to do with cars, I'm going to throw it on there. If I have some update videos or some things that don't quite fit in one of the builds, it'll fall into that category. So sticking to that, I'm over time the channel is going to start to evolve. Rather than being dedicated to just one project, it's going to be dedicated to the journey in itself. And I think that's pretty cool because there's, you can easily get bored with certain parts of a project or lose interest in it. And I think as long as I stay dedicated to getting these cars finished and keeping the rhythm going of getting more and more stuff accomplished each and every week, but also mixing it up, having some more fun amongst the channel as well, will really increase in your guys' engagement from an entertainment level. And that's my main focus with this channel, was to be entertaining. And if it's something like rust repair and paint work and stuff, if you're doing that on your project, this might be really interesting to you. But if it's something that you may not do or may not see or feel you don't have the skill set for, it might be something you can easily click off of and not be interested in it. So to keep the entertainment value high, I want to continue to do many different things on this channel that fit into the Mk1 Volkswagen category, or maybe even in the future, hint hint, expand into more of the Volkswagen Audi group of cars, going into things in other realms of Volkswagen, possibly Audi. And one of my biggest goals in my life is one day to start working on some Porsche stuff. So that may or may not happen in 2021. I don't want to start expanding my horizons too far. The biggest goals of early 2021 is to get this car on the road, and I'm saying in the next month or 2 or 3, and hopefully get a little drive time in this car, as well as start pulling that truck back in, starting to work on that. One of the things I've been considering for 2021 is going big on that car, and I don't mean motor swap big, I mean bigger than that. And so I'm currently working on developing that behind the scenes, and I don't want to let too many cats out of the bag there. I'm going to keep that under wraps for now because I don't want to promise you a goal I'm not going to be able to achieve. but I am planning to go huge with that truck because it is something that my son and I are going to build together. And by the time, you know, 8 more years pass, I want that truck to be relevant, and I want it to be quick and fun and exciting, and I think we can take this channel farther than just simply cleaning a car up and getting it running and driving. It's about doing something outside of my comfort zone, getting real crazy with something, doing something, setting a crazy goal and saying, hey, we can do this. We stick together, we stay consistent, creating episodes week after week on trying to further that project. We can definitely make something happen. So in 2021, I want to go big, and I think I'm going to go big with that pickup truck. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you think I could do with it, what you think I should do with it. I'm going to quickly take you for a walkthrough with it and kind of give you some hints of why I'm thinking about going big with it and what the plans with that are, without giving away the biggest part of the ghost. I'm also going to show you a couple other things I've been working on around the farm here that are going to help bring this channel a little bit more content, as well as a little bit more DIY entertainment stuff that has to do with these cars and restoring these cars at home. A lot of you guys are probably doing the same thing. You have a garage like me, starting to do some maintenance on a car. You might have bought something. You might be starting entry level where you're just starting to do your own oil changes and your own maintenance, and you want to clean up a car and that sort of stuff. Well, great, awesome. This is the perfect opportunity to do so. But also there could be a couple of you guys who are knee deep in projects just like this, and maybe you've lost a little bit of steam and you're looking for that motivation to get back out to the garage and start working on your cars as well, because that's me. Prior to starting this stuff and being accountable to you guys on YouTube, making episodes every week, I used to build a car or start building a car, and then I would let it sit and I wouldn't necessarily get back to it because I would come up with this excuse or that excuse why I was too busy or what have you. Making this channel for me has been something that has made me accountable. And making me accountable has got me out in the garage, once or twice a week at night or on a weekend to really put out the content, but at the same time to keep these projects moving forward, which otherwise may have probably sat because I would have come up with some excuse. I was too tired, we got too much going on. But creating an episode every week makes me accountable. It gets me out in the garage. It gets me moving ahead on these cars. And here we are. We're ready to start, or not quite ready, but really close to being ready to start throwing some parts back on the car, wrapping the car in a fresh paint job, and really start bolting everything new back onto the car and getting this car onto the street. So without further ado, let's take a look at a couple things that I want to talk to you guys about looking forward to 2021. Now before I walk out of the shop here, I want to quickly talk about this ABF build. I've got pretty much 90% of the stuff I need to start this project. This will be something that happens very soon. So if you guys are really interested in following along on this, expect this in the next episode or two where we actually go from start to finish on this engine. Because that box on the ground is full of parts, I walked through it 2 episodes ago with all you guys of how much stuff I have. I'm waiting on 2 or 3 extra little bits to get this motor ready to go, and then we're going to knock it out. So stay tuned for that. Don't worry, I'm not getting carried away with other things. We are still focusing on getting this built. I do have a transmission in one of my other buildings that I'm going to be using with this, and it has a limited slip in it, so we're going to be cleaning it up, planning to throw it on this car and using it that way. Additionally, the car is more or less as you guys saw it. I really keep talking about it, but I got to do something about this floor inside the car to get it covered with a resistant coating to make sure we're ready to start throwing interior back into the car. There's not a lot of interior work we need to do to the actual chassis other than making sure that the floor is nice and clean, recoated and painted, and then we can start throwing back on some sound deadening and carpet and that kind of thing. So let's take a walk outside. So here lies the pickup truck. Not a lot's changed since you've seen it last. I have moved around from bay to bay, but the one thing that has changed is my VR6 car that I had for the red, for the Project Stepchild. I sold that off. I bought it for the interest of using it for that car. I didn't really need it anymore, so I sold it locally to another guy who's going to use that car to build one of his projects. So he's going to do a powertrain swap just like I intended to do with it. And that's what he bought it for. So it's awesome to pass that along because I wasn't going to use it. I didn't see it point in keeping it and wasting space with it. I still do have my other 1980 Manila green painted car. That's a really deep project. Whether that car ever takes shape or not, has yet to be determined. I feel like it's going to serve up the rest of its life as being a parts donor for the rest of my cars around here. It is really far gone as far as how much work it needs, but it has a great amount of sheet metal and parts to the car that can really be lived on in my other Volkswagen. So I feel like that's going to be the way that it ends its life at some point, such as door donors, inner sheet metal donating maybe to the pickup truck. We'll see. But let's talk about why I kind of want to take this truck to another level. Okay, as you can see here, maybe or maybe not, you can see there's a ton of rust in this engine bay. There's a lot of rust in the rain tray. There's actually some rust on the floors. Now, huge hint. All this rust pertains to basically the core of this car. The body is in really good shape. The core of the car, not so much. So if I could remove the core and put something else there, now you're starting to get the idea of where I want to go with it. Here's a big hint. The wheelbase of this car is 103 inches. Audi makes another car that's 103 inch wheelbase. All right, that's enough hints. That being said, that opens the door. Quattro now becomes part of the conversation. Huge goals, I know, but I think that would be super awesome to do in 2021. Take you guys along for the ride of making this thing a Quattro. So wouldn't that be a lot of fun? Yeah, maybe for those purists. I got offended in my last video. Gutting this car wouldn't be, I don't know, the purest thing to do. However, we have to be honest with ourselves. A great deal of this rust is right through the floor pans, the rain tray, both strut towers, as well as part of the front here. But we can do a very good job of salvaging this car to a level of creating an awesome project that would seriously be a lot of fun in the future. So let's look forward to that. But if that doesn't happen, I still do have this Mark IV 180T, which I purchased to use for that pickup truck. So two things could happen. One, if I pursue a different project with the pickup truck, I may use this in a different car. This may possibly follow the same route as the VR6 Golf did, meaning that I may choose to sell this off, but for now I'm going to keep it. This is an awesome starting position for a swap in the future, so until I'm all in some other method, I'm going to keep this the way it is and just keep it living back here while I wait for a decision. One more thing I wanted to show you too in the early part of 2021. I do some local work for some guys around the area that have some Mark 1s that maybe don't know what they're getting themselves into or need a little bit of help with their project. This car I took on to do a little bit of fuel system work on it. It's got a really obscure fuel system in it right now. Rather than a tank under the car, it actually has a beer keg in the back of the car. The current owner doesn't really like that and has asked me to revert it back to factory. Now, this car, when I do some work on it, I'll do a full walkthrough episode on it. It has a crossflow ABA in it, so it's got a CE2 electric harness swap, which is really kind of neat. It's got a lot of other neat features as well. It's really clean, not fully done by any means. It's got a lot of work it still needs to get done, but it is here with me to do some fuel system work on it, and I thought I'd show you that in a future episode as well. One of my other projects I've been working on behind the scenes on this channel is, you will reference this particular room from the second or third episode on the channel. I built this with a friend of mine. It is a room on my farm that I have completely cleared out and filled with a couple of fans in the windows, some toolboxes, and some supply cabinets. In this room, I'll show you, I put some lighting and hooks and everything on the roof, as well as we put an extensive amount of wiring around the walls. We also put, looking ahead, 2 oven plugs. So my plan here is eventually, I want to turn this room into a paint booth / powder coating room. Because I'm going to start putting these cars together, I want to do it correctly. I built this room to serve that purpose, that I could powder coat all my parts when putting the car back together. Unfortunately, there's no way I can pull a car in here. It's just got 2 small man doors. but I can pull in some pretty big parts. Not that I'd really have the capabilities of powder coating big parts, because we're just going to do it in 2 small household ovens. But my plan is to hopefully at least paint some bigger stuff, as well as powder coat stuff that will fit in the ovens. Things like wheels, parts, you know, all kinds of components for suspensions and engine bay, all that kind of stuff. Get into really detailing and painting a lot of this car as I put it back together. Now, disclaimer, I have zero experience with doing anything powder coating myself. I know that it can be done with some simple DIY systems out there, but I thought, hey, what better way to take you guys on the journey with me to see for yourself what it feels like to jump into this stuff with no experience and see how far I get. I don't know the quality that I'm going to get. I hope it's going to be good, but I plan to see that through by just repurposing this room I had in a different way. Now, you don't need this room like this. You do have to have a dedicated oven that is not your household oven though, because it will, the chemicals and paint fumes from powder coating will actually terminate the use of the oven for any food related purposes. So it has to be a dedicated oven used for just powder coating. That being said, I fully plan on getting this oven off of Facebook, buying something for 50 bucks or 100 bucks. The elements on top don't need to work. The oven just needs to get up to temperature. Hopefully I can find 1 or 2 for that really reasonable price. And we can, as well as hanging stuff from the roof and painting things in here as well. It's just a dirty room. Like I said, can't fit through much through the doors. It is just going to be the use of stuff that can fit. For example, here's the rear beam that came out of the Project Stepchild. This rear beam needs a lot of cleanup. Obviously, I'm not using that suspension, but I just brought it in here as an example to show you the kind of stuff that I plan on cleaning up and painting in here, as well as this particular axle will be getting geared up for disc brakes. One of my biggest projects for the early part of 2021, outside of building cars, is what you see behind me. Now, hopefully it's not too windy, guys. I'm outside right now, and it's not the best of days, but I wanted to explain this to you before I got going on it. What you see behind me here is actually a portable building. I bought this very reasonably at a local auction. I bought this strictly for my equipment because the buildings that they're in, I live on a family property. I've had it for many, many years, passed down generations. The buildings are starting to fall apart, and it's my turn to kind of bring the family farm back up to snuff. So I was going to displace a lot of that equipment into this building while I rebuilt those buildings, and in doing so I actually can benefit for YouTube as well of making content inside this building. As you can imagine, right now it's really windy. It's weather. When you're trying to make videos having wind and wind noise, and you're having outside noises of cars going by and planes flying, and you're running into an issue of it pouring rain every day, having sheltered space that doesn't have exposed walls and leaking roofs and lack of lighting, having a space to make that content is really, really helpful, as well as serving other purposes around the farm. Actually, in the later part of November of 2020, I purchased this building at auction, and I got a really good price on it, and it's a really big building. Actually, it's obviously the scale of that picture isn't really quite accurate, but it's a 40 by 30 by 16 feet high building, and it's a double truss building. So I'll show you here. It's not a really cheap model. It's the model that's built really well to withstand not only Canadian winters, which really aren't as bad as everybody makes them out to be, especially on the west coast, but is also rain, wind, and sun resistant for quite a long time. I think the warranty on this, don't get me wrong, is like something like 20 years or something to that effect. This pad actually is, I forget exactly what it is. I think it's 50 feet long by 30 feet wide. So the building won't go right to the end. It'll go pretty close to the end, but it'll be 40 feet deep, 30 feet wide. So it'll take the width of this, and it'll be 16 feet high. The sides, as you can see here, the sides of this building, I don't know if it's probably in reverse, but to the edge of the eave, it's actually 10.5 feet. So it's really high. It can allow me in the future, if I really wanted to, is to put a lift on this pad once I power the building. But it's something I'm gonna, keep around the farm for a long time. It helps me park my machinery and that sort of stuff indoors without leaving them exposed to the elements. So yes, this has absolutely nothing to do with Volkswagens, but it has something to do with the journey of me and cars and working on stuff around the farm. So I thought it would be an awesome opportunity to maybe show you that. I'll probably do that obviously in a time-lapse episode, one episode all through and through, just to show you guys me building this, because in future episodes, without question, I'll probably be inside of this building working on some cars. Really cheap buy, but it's a really well-made product, and again, getting it from auction allowed me to get it for about a quarter of what they're normally worth. So in summary, got lots of content coming in the early part of 2021. Really excited. You know, if I would have known 6 months ago when I started this channel with a single episode, when I picked up this red car, if I thought I would be where I am today with this, you know, growth and enthusiasm and consistency of making episodes every week, did I think I would be where I am today? No, I don't, or I didn't. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of effort. You know, trying to make this thing happen every week has been a learning experience, to say the least. But to be honest, creating this enthusiast group of people that I've met along the way of doing this, and the interest of the channel, and the people following along and saying, hey, you know, I got a similar project, that's really exciting. It's really motivational. It's a lot of fun, and I really want to continue to see this thing grow. I want to continue to work on my cars and show you guys from an entertainment perspective. You know, and like I said before, if this can become something more than just me burning late night hours putting together videos, that would be a lot of fun. But at the same time, growing the YouTube channel, learning to do stuff on film, you know, I've ran into a lot of challenges of, you know, weather being a factor of being able to create a weekly episode, having wind and noise be a factor, proper lighting, all these things I'm starting to get into. And if I want to make credible, well-made content, I really need to expand my horizons and learn more and push myself from a creative aspect. And one of the side effects of having that building in the back is going to be allow me to get out of the rain, get out of the wind, and because it's a white building that shines light through, will be allow me to get better lighting. I might pick up a few studio lights as well for the work that I'm doing in here. I'm not abandoning this garage, but I'm trying to find a little bit more space for when we get into projects of where I'm doing assemblies of parts and that kind of thing. So I thought it would be a lot of fun. Plus I got a lot of equipment I have to put in those buildings. We've been here for about two years and a bit now. I really want to bring the history of this farm back to life. These buildings are starting to see a lot of rot. Some of the posts are starting to lean, and some of the roofs are starting to leak and fall apart. So what my goal of buying the building originally was to move a lot of my equipment and material out of these buildings, be able to rebuild them or restructure them to be sound and kind of refresh them, and then eventually move the equipment back. So that's why I bought a portable building. It may or may not stay where it's going to be forever. It might not be something I keep forever, but in the meantime, it's also going to serve as a secondary place for me to be able to spend some time on YouTube with better lighting, better sound, no issues of wind and rain and all that kind of thing. So it will be an awesome opportunity. I kind of wanted to bring that up because you're going to see me working on it, or working in it at least, in the future. And if you guys are interested in more content around my farm, let me know. I don't want to deviate from Volkswagens. This is a Volkswagen channel, and I want to continue to play with these cars, and it is a car enthusiast based channel, so I'm not going to start getting into a whole bunch of other content. But I do, if you guys have interest in seeing other things that I'm doing around here, by all means ask me, and I'll answer some of those questions. I'm getting on in the episodes as well. I think by episode 50, one of my things I wanted to kind of introduce to the channel is a Q&A. If you guys have any questions for me, I kind of wanted to introduce that. But that's down the road. I think right now I'm floating around episode 28, 29, 30 in total on the channel. So when I get around to the 50 range, I think I'll celebrate the 50th episode by doing a Q&A. But thanks guys for watching this episode. Lots of stuff planned for 2021, like I said. Really excited to get going. Next episode, without question, we're going to hop into that engine, get that ABF built. We're going to continue to move ahead. Everything that I've discussed in today's episode isn't meant to start clouding the channel with other stuff. We are still full bore ahead on this project, and I fully intend on seeing this car through in the next month or two to the point where it's on the road driving, and then we'll start bringing back my VR6 car once this thing is down on the ground and rolling under its own power, before we start getting into other stuff. But at some point in time, we'll drop in a couple episodes on a little bit of other content or some updates. We're going to bring in that Blue Rabbit, get that fuel system finished up so we can get that back to its owner. And lots of other fun stuff hanging around here. So thanks very much, guys. If you've joined this channel recently, welcome to Mystery Garage. We're going to have a lot of fun in 2021, and I can't wait. Till next time, guys. Thanks very much. Take care.